Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the rest of the TTRPG scene. And we're going to talk about something really exceptional that Dungeons and Dragons does that other tabletop role playing games really have gone the other way on, and why it makes Dungeons and Dragons better than its OSR and indie competitors. And that is, it is my supposition. Dungeons and Dragons has made a powerful narrative tool for terrible, disparate players, right? Now, I've already talked in the past about Dungeons and Dragons being for terrible players. If you don't believe me, read Quests from the Endless Staircase. There's this part where it's like, it goes into like pages and pages of detail about protecting the staircase. And you're like, wait, you're talking about if player characters tried to destroy the staircase? Like literally the thing that's on the cover? And they're like, yeah. Yeah, like if your player characters are going to try to destroy literally the main part of your narrative, here's what you do, right? And I'm like, why are they putting this in here? And I realized, D&D has really built this system for terrible players, to engage and keep terrible players that will try actively to destroy your narrative, right? And Dungeons and Dragons doesn't get rid of any of them. They're like, here's some advice for how to keep them at the table. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is I just listened to Ghostfire Games weekly podcast. They have a great podcast, but they give some very bad advice on it. And this week they had a specific, their regular crew is Sean Merwin, brilliant guy, Ben Burns and Dale Kingsmill. They brought in this guy named Brooke this week, and he was pretty terrible. Like, he was just like, and he said, he was like, they were talking about bringing players together, right? And he's like, yeah, well, not only do you need good players, right, but you need them all to gel together, right? And I was like, what? And so he was saying, not only do you need the best players, right, just beautiful, wonderful human beings, right, but they all have to gel together. It's not okay to have just 5 great people at the game, right, or at the campaign. They need to gel together. Now, what frustrates me is this is just bad math, right? Like, so first of all, many people are running 4-hour tabletop role-playing games, right? And so right out of the gate, you are going to be hard-pressed just to get people to come and play a tabletop role-playing game. First of all, most people don't even know what a tabletop role-playing game is. And they do know what Dungeons & Dragons is. They know the name Dungeons & Dragons. We learned when Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves came out that they don't even know what it is. Many people thought it was a video game. Many people thought it was a board game. Many people confused it with LARP, right? Like, many people don't even know what Dungeons & Dragons is. So when you're gathering your table, not only, like, first of all, the idea that you're going to get 5 good people is ludicrous. And this continues to be taught. Like, one of my favorite games, I would say, yeah, one of my favorite tabletop role-playing games is Blades in the Dark. I love it. It's brilliant. It was written by John Harper. But he has a problem. This thing was built. That game is virtually impossible to play with regular people, right? And the reason why was everybody he play tested with, I'm fairly certain, tell me if I'm wrong, they were all TTRPG designers. You can see it all over the game, right? And so and his game has this energy. They're like, make sure you get the right people at the table, good people, right? And then this guy is going further and saying that they all need to gel together. This is ludicrous. You can barely get 5 people together to play tabletop role-playing games because this is extremely niche, right? Now you're saying, oh, and they all need to be just beautiful, wonderful human beings. That's not enough. They have to gel together, right? This is ludicrous. And I think what's happening is these are all designers who are in these communities where they have tons of people because they're incredibly privileged and most of them quite wealthy. And they're building like these tabletop role-playing games together in what is really a very unrealistic environment, right? And Dungeons and Dragons has done the exact opposite. It has it has set up its game to be played by the worst human beings, right? And if you are gathering a Dungeons and Dragons table frequently, you're going to get some bad people at the table, right? And what I love about Dungeons and Dragons is like, don't send them away, fix them. I like, and not even fix them. That's the wrong word. Make them grow, make them improve, transform them into something they're not, right? And that's what Dungeons and Dragons does. And even more than that, it very much does not require the people at the table to like each other or to gel together. Dungeons and Dragons is built for terrible, disparate people, right? And I love that. And and the reason why I'm talking about this again is I've recently come to understand this, where many go on Twitter, look at tabletop where you'll say, oh, you need the right people to play this with you. Throw those jerks out, right? D&D doesn't say that. It's like, keep them at the table. They play a hero long enough, they're going to stop being a jerk, right? And it's right. It's between the lines. It doesn't say it directly, but that's what Gary built, right? And the other reason why I'm like it's built for Disparate is more and more. I think the future of understanding Dungeons and Dragons is we need to realize it's more like a sport. It's not something we should run with friends. It's just like a sports team, right? You don't get your friend Bob to play basketball with you. You get Larry. You hate him, but he can hoop, right? And that's the same thing here. You don't need people to gel together. You're trying to tell powerful narratives. You need people with imagination. You need people with flair, right? Not necessarily your friends. And I really think we need to start moving away from this nonsense that, like, it's hard enough with a physical table game. Attracting 5 human beings is going to be hard enough. And now we're going to ramp it up another criteria, saying, oh, it's not enough to find good players. They have to gel together. That dude they had on that Ghostfire, they should have left him out. That was just utter nonsense. And he was very boring. I didn't think he brought anything to the table on that show. And was actively giving bad advice, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.